Hey listeners, it's Katie. I'm just dropping in before the episode starts to let you know that when we were editing this episode, we realized that our mic levels were not even. They were a little bit off. And so we talked about it and decided we wanted to release the episode anyway because we did not want to try to recreate any of the authentic conversations that you're going to hear on this episode. But just wanted to let you know that we are aware of it, and every episode we are working to make our sound even better for all of you. So thanks again for listening, and now on to the episode. She'll take the town by storm with her all-American face and form. And there she is. Walking on air she is. Fairest of the fair she is. If you can fill in the next two words in these lyrics, you might be a Xennial, and we are too. Hi, I'm Katie.
And I'm Dani.
And today on Generation In Between, we are putting on our proverbial tiaras and sashes, but not our swimsuits, to talk about one of the more interesting traditions in this great nation of ours, the Miss America pageant. Now, this is not to be confused with Miss USA, Miss World, Miss Universe, or anything along those lines. No, we are talking about the OG, the one and only Miss America pageant. So let me just start by saying there are some problematic things that we'll be addressing today with Miss America as an institution. I just want to be clear that we will not be casting any shade on any of the lovely, talented, crazy smart women who have held this title, past, present, or future, because honestly, these women completely rock. And what they choose to do with their talent, their looks, whatever, is totally theirs to do. But today is more of a discussion of the why of the pageant, what it's meant, and really kind of asking, is it even relevant today? Should it be a thing? And also a little bit of my own experience in the pageant circle, which Dani's just really excited about, guys. You should see her face. You know, when she talks about toys,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck? That's what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So, Dani, I know you did a lot of performing now and as a kid. You're also from the South.
Yeah.
So I just have to ask, were you a pageant girl?
Well, first, let me preface this by saying I'm eating a snack right now.
Oh.
As we're recording, I am eating some chocolate-covered blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
So excuse me.
As one does.
As one does. Absolutely not. I was not a pageant girl. Now, I did have friends and sorority sisters who chose that path in life. That is not me.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have always really despised pageants. So when Katie told me we were doing this episode, I was like, okay, I'm going to be nice to you, but like, I have a lot of feelings about pageants.
It's like always been a hard no for you.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
I remember watching it off and on, back in the day, but it always made me irritated because, well, we'll go into some of that later. But no, not a pageant girl. And I'm not throwing shade to my friends who did pageants either, because they did work really hard. But it was like, to me, I was like, it's such a waste of time. Whatever. It's fine. We'll get into that. So I've seen pictures, Katie, of you back in the day, but I have to ask, were you a pageant girl?
So, sort of. I was not. I was never made it to any level of any significance, but I did do 2 of the preliminaries for Miss Indiana when I was college age.
Way.
I did. Never made it to the Miss Indiana pageant. I did like the preliminary kind of regional ones. Did not so great in one and did pretty good in the second one. But then I didn't do any more after that. But let me back up a few. So when I was growing up, Miss Indiana, so each state, of course, has their person, and Puerto Rico was part of it, wasn't, but apparently is coming back next year. So all the states in Puerto Rico. So the big one, the Miss Indiana one, for some reason was in my hometown.
Really?
I'm from Michigan City, Indiana. It's not held there anymore, but every year it came to our high school. That's where it was. And
was that your high school?
It was at our high school, but I was little, so I didn't go to high school there. But like it was in the summer when they would have it, I remember. And my mom would take me. Like she wasn't like huge into pageants, but I think she just thought it's a good opportunity to see some people performing and do something fun. And it's pretty cool that it's here. So we would go. And I always loved the talent portions, loved hearing people sing. A lot of people played instruments, played piano. Sometimes you have like sort of the off-brand talent that shows up. I remember someone on a pogo stick
Spoken
once.
word.
It was spoken word. We'll get into that too, because there's one from this year. But and I loved it. And I loved the public speaking portions. I just thought it was so cool that they could just be asked a question and just answer it, just like nothing. So I always liked those parts. I don't remember the swimsuit portion. Now, to be fair, it's split up into several days usually. So it's just possible I never went that day. It's possible I went the talent day or the interview day. But I don't remember it. However, it could be a suppressed memory. I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing that as a little kid. But I also remember, because I was part of ballet studios and performing studios where I would get these mailers. I don't know if you ever got these. Did you get these?
No, they didn't want me to be a pageant.
Well, they were total spam. So, I don't know.
Are like the modeling ones. You remember they would do those?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was similar. And
Never.
I would get them for Miss Teen USA, which is not affiliated with the Miss America organization. That's the one that's affiliated with Miss USA and Miss Universe, which is a whole other, yeah, exactly, a whole other universe. So I remember I would get those, and my mom did have a boundary, because we would go see pageants, but when I would get those, she'd be like, absolutely not.
Oh.
And I think it was a pay to play, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was like, you pay this to go and learn how to do it, and then you pay this entry fee. But if you win, you get, you could get this amount of money or this scholarship. Okay. And I just remember thinking, well, I want to do the singing or the public speaking, and I want to win some money. But my parents were, smart enough to be like, this is not a path we want for you at 9 years old, or 12 or 13 or whatever it was, and B, like, it costs a lot of money for potentially nothing. Right. So I didn't do it. But that being said, when I was old enough to make my own decisions, I did do those 2 Miss Indiana qualifiers when I was in college, which my mom was fine with. She came and saw. My dad too. I did Miss Northwest Indiana, which is kind of where I'm from, and then Miss Central Indiana, which was closer to Indianapolis. And my college actually had one. There was a Miss Ball State.
I think my college had one too.
But I didn't do that one. I didn't want to do that one.
But I don't remember now.
I was too embarrassed or something. It's weird.
Really?
I was willing to go other places, but I didn't want to do it where my actual college friends could come, or I'd be competing against people I would see all the time. So I sang both times. The first time I actually played the piano and sang a version of Over the Rainbow. And honestly, it was fine, but it was pretty basic.
Oh, great. Another Over the Rainbow.
Girl sitting at the piano. And it wasn't that good, for real. So that was fine. The second time I sang Someone Like You from Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh.
And, had a vocal coach. It was someone I sang with for years and just really went for it. I remember I had this beautiful purple sequins dress. And I remember singing it, and the current Miss Indiana was at our pageant that night, because she came out and did her talent, and everyone's like, yay, it's Miss Indiana, whatever. And she was standing backstage, and she looked at me and she was like, wow.
Ooh,
when I was done singing. Isn't that awesome?
Miss Indiana.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, and it's, cyclical. She was never crowned Miss Indiana when I went as a kid, obviously.
Yeah.
But she was the recipient of that thing that I kind of had a connection to. And I just thought that was really cool. So here in my notes, I say I was a bit of a mess the first time. I did make the top 10.
Okay.
But not the top 5. So I don't know if I was 4th place or 8th place or 10th place or whatever. And I remember that particular time, a woman gave me her card afterward and was like, you're great. You need a coach. She was a pageant coach.
Oh, boy.
And I didn't call her. I wasn't like, oh, I hate you pageants. I just didn't do anymore. I had done 2, and I was like, I don't know about this path for me.
All right. So here's my question for Katie. First of all, I have 2 questions I want to ask. This is becoming Interview Katie hour.
I love it.
All right. So I need to know what the qualifications that you have to join. You audition for a pageant? What's the deal? Or you just apply?
Yeah, I think you just apply. That's a really great question. It's changed probably since I did it too. There's some qualifications on paper, which we can get to later, but one of the basics is that you have to be between 18, and it used to be, I think when I was younger, it was 23 or 24.
Okay.
They bumped it to 26, and then recently they bumped it to 28.
Okay.
So 18 to 28. You can't be married. However, there's nothing in there about being divorced. You just can't currently be married.
Okay.
I mean, I would imagine most
Weird.
aren't divorced, but, and you can't be a parent, either biological or adoptive. There's some other stuff about gender that I have later on, kind of like
so
the
we'll
questions there. Yeah, we'll get to those. But I believe I did have to send, best as I could, I don't even know how I videotaped it, like a short video of my talent or something. And then there was a form you had to fill out with like what your platform would be. I was racking my brain to remember what my platform was. I can't even remember. Isn't that crazy? Now it would be Alzheimer's. I think it was some sort of cancer because I had just had two parents.
Right.
Or I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Two grandparents pass away around that time. So I'm sure it was something to do with cancer research, but nothing fully formed or thought out. Just kind of like, that's the path I guess I'll take.
Take an activist path.
And I really didn't look that closely at what they have to do now, but I would imagine there is some sort of vetting process.
So you have it's like getting into college, correct? But then also a audition as well, because you have to have some kind of talent. Okay. So my second question.
Yes.
Why in the world did you want to do this to yourself?
Right. So that is a great question. And again, I only did it twice. So it wasn't like the bug bit me and I was like, I got to be Miss America. And I just like went for it. I was sort of like, when I had done it twice. I did it once horribly. So then I wanted to do it again. And then I did pretty good. And I was like, I don't really want to continue trying to get so good at this that whatever. I think a little bit of it, they do have significant amounts of scholarships. Right. So for 2024, because they just crowned a Miss America, it's over $5 million in scholarships.
Wow.
Not to her specifically, to all the different, and that's just at the Miss America level. States and localities have more.
Okay.
So it's a good amount of money. I figured it would also give me a leg up in performing, networking. At the time, I wanted to, go to New York and be a Broadway star. So I thought, well, if I can someone sees me or meets me. I didn't make it out of Indiana with my talent, so I don't know that anyone important actually saw me. And just the chance to perform. And I still do. I love just dressing up, and I don't do it daily. Listeners, if you saw me right now, you'd be like, wow. But
same. Me too.
You're like, oh, it's a good thing they don't do video. But
we will one day, and we'll have our tiaras on then. Don't you worry.
Oh, we will. We'll wear our tiaras and our sashes, maybe even heels, because we'll be sitting down. So why not? Just to be pretty. We'll just wear our heels and clothing, I think. But hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, it's a different episode. But I think it's weird because it's so long ago that I'm like, I don't know. I remember just at that time really feeling an urgency to just get out there and be on stage as much as I could. Okay. And I think it had to do with wanting, and I had seen so much of that as a kid that a stage full of women, again, this is probably a pro of something like this, a stage full of women saying, I'm good at this thing. And here I go. And I'm good at talking about this issue, so now I'm going to talk about it. And I wanted to do that.
Okay.
Valid. And there's plenty of other ways to do it.
Correct.
So there's that.
But I understand. Okay, so the scholarship money's a pull, and just the experience in front of people, exposure. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that.
And so overall, I did have a lot of fun both times. I found that the other girls were super kind and fun. They were nervous too. Of course, there were a few divas in there, but
there's divas everywhere.
That's performing life. That's life. You just kind of stayed away from those girls. You're like, I'm gonna just let them be them. We're just gonna let them do that. I really wasn't nervous. I wasn't even nervous about the swimsuit.
What?
No, I wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was really thin. I wouldn't say that I was fit at all, but I was just like really thin. So I just wasn't that worried about it. I don't remember being nervous. I don't remember walking out. I was way more nervous about my talent and my public speaking, but I didn't have any coaching. I was just like guessing. I cannot even imagine my poses were probably so bad. I remember my dad, bless his heart, he came to the second one and he was like, wow, that was cool. That was interesting. And he was like, I think maybe there's a video of it you should watch because I noticed like some of the girls stand a certain way. And he was just trying to sort of be like, I'm up there just standing. And not just in the bathing, he just meant in general. Like even in my evening gown, even in my whatever, that everyone probably looked a certain way. And then there's me just who knows what I was doing, thinking I was doing something that looked good that it must not have.
Because there is like a whole way you have to stand.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And walk.
Oh, yeah. And even nowadays, you could probably teach yourself with stuff online.
YouTube and stuff, yeah.
But this would have been 2001, 2002. So a little bit harder to do without an actual person. So that is my sort of quick, I did pageants, that's why story. If you go on our socials, you will see some pictures.
Yes.
None in the swimsuit. I don't think those exist.
You will not see nary a picture of Dani for this episode. Nary a one.
Well, I don't know. We might have to take a picture of Dani eating these chocolate covered blueberries
in my dance clothes.
Exactly. It's like, yes, exactly. So again, I don't want to take a ton of time to tell you every historical detail about Miss America. So I just found some sort of highlights to sort of catapult us from when did it start? What got us here? What are some of the bigger things that have happened? And what does it even look like now, right? In a world where there's, in my opinion, a lot of opportunities for women to, not enough, but a lot of opportunities for women to get things like scholarships or to even get notoriety online through their social media. Do we really need something like this? Did we ever? Maybe not. But so this is kind of interesting to me because the Miss America pageant tends to, as an organization, follow this narrative. We're a women empowering organization and we give a lot of money to women to pursue education. So you would think, oh, well, is that how it was founded? But no. Nope. The Miss America pageant started as a ploy to keep tourists on the Atlantic City boardwalk after Labor Day.
Capitalism.
And also, here come the local businessmen.
Patriarchy. How did I know?
How did you know
this was going
a women empowering organization started this way? Way back in 1920, a group of local businessmen there in Atlantic City, they organized an event that was called the Fall Frolic, which
I'm dying this episode already. I'm dying.
She can't.
Dying.
Which happened to feature, a rolling chair parade of young ladies, which I think is literally like someone's pushing them in a sort of a wheelchair sort of thing.
What?
Or maybe they're sitting on chairs. Listeners, we're going to look for a picture of that and we'll share it if we have it.
Office chair? Like,
that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Why?
But why wouldn't they just walk?
Or be in a car?
Well, 1920.
Oh.
I mean, they could be in a car.
Right?
It'd be harder.
Yeah.
So I guess that was successful because the following year's Fall Frolic, the parade was reworked as the Inner City Beauty Contest, and entrants were chosen through newspaper-sponsored photo contests. So right away looks. And a 16-year-old Margaret Gorman won the title of the most beautiful bathing girl in America. Dani's head is about to explode, you guys.
Dying in my chair.
But hold on. She did take home the Golden Mermaid trophy.
Okay, well.
So that's something.
Let's objectify a teenage girl and give her a mermaid trophy.
Give her a mermaid trophy.
Win.
That sounds fun. So then she came back, but she was probably 17, if my math is correct. She came back the following year. And she came back to defend her title, where she was informally dubbed Miss America. So that was sort of the start.
Okay.
And then the seeds of the organization sort of grew from there. They've had scandals over the years, things like that, of course. Some of the most famous Miss Americas you may have heard of, Vanessa Williams, absolute most famous. She did have to give her crown back.
I know.
That whole thing, I don't think she did this on purpose, like to this end at all, but it did help catapult her career, the whole thing. I think she would have rather not had any of that happen, but she's the most famous, beautiful voice, obviously wonderful performer. Bess Meyerson, she was the first Jewish Miss America, 1945, and she became a pretty famous TV personality and journalist. Heather Whitestone, I remember this one. I watched this one on TV. She was the first deaf woman to be crowned Miss America in 1995. She's like now a motivational speaker and author. I absolutely remember her. She was amazing.
I don't know who any of these people are on your list except for Vanessa Williams.
Well, so another one I have on here is Gretchen Carlson. She was crowned in 1989. She became a TV journalist and anchor. She's also one of the most prominent advocates from the Me Too movement.
Oh.
So go Gretchen. And then Phyllis George was crowned in 1971, and she was a pretty famous regional television personality and sportscaster. So go Phyllis. So kind of fast forward from this bathing beauty golden mermaid situation, and I've already mentioned the organization now gives away about $5 million in tuition scholarships. And then the 2024 Miss America, who was just crowned, we'll talk about her in a minute. I love this, wins the opportunity to travel America.
No.
As the brand ambassador. But she does get $60,000 in tuition scholarships. Miss America's teen also can get the $60,000 in tuition scholarship to go to any accredited school. Or I thought this was really interesting and kind of bizarre and random. She can also elect a 4-year scholarship at the University of Alabama.
What? So they have like a partnership?
They must.
Okay, I have to pause. We have to pause.
Let's pause. Let's process.
I have to unload some things.
Let's do it.
Which is going to come back up. First of all,
that's fine.
The origin of this whole nonsense is gross.
Yes.
Okay.
Must be said.
Must be said. And that's the whole thing. That origin is why I have issues with pageants. Because what we're doing is objectifying women and judging them based on surface things. Yes, they have to do a talent. Yes, they have to public speak. Mm-hmm. But like, really?
Right.
I mean, they have to be beautiful. They have to be young. They can't be parents. Let's be real. Until recent years, and even in recent years, it's not even where it needs to be. They need to be a certain size.
Yeah.
A certain beauty standard. And growing up, I was a goofy looking kid for a long time. And I am sitting here, I am shocked that Katie was like, I was totally comfortable with bathing suit. Y'all, I am 43 and you could not pay me any time in my life to walk around in my bathing suit in front of people and feel comfortable about it.
And literally be judged.
Right. That's what I mean.
Literally.
Like, I could walk around on a beach in a bathing suit and be fine these days. But like if they were going to be like, hey, walk down that boardwalk while we all stare at you and see what number we want to give you on your little form. No. Like yeah. That's my problem with pageants is because we're focusing on the wrong things. Like take out all the appearance things and let's focus on all the other stuff instead. Right. That's a pageant I'll get behind.
Yeah.
Focus on and then like, it's funny when you were saying how they told you had to pick a platform and then it's like, what's my platform going to be? Like that also bothers me because what that is like, I forget there's a name for it, but it's like showcase activism or whatever. Performance allyship. That's what it is. Where it's like, yay, I'm going to support this right now. And I mean, you were a young kid. So,
I know what you mean though. Yeah. I'm not offended at all.
But like, that's what I feel like a lot of people end up doing. So instead of, I got to hurry up and find a cause, find people who've already been investing in a cause.
Right. Which I think you'll be happy to hear about the woman who was crowned this year for that reason.
Good.
When we get to that, because I do agree. On one hand, I get being like, hey, what's something you actually want to advocate while you travel the country and you will have all this attention. So how do you want to use it? But to your point, maybe that should come first.
Right.
You find the women who already have a nonprofit or have a strong social media presence talking about this, that, or the other. And then it grows from there. Almost like whose cause not is the best, but is presented in such a way that we want to fund it and help other people.
Well, it's like, you think of people who get awards in communities as like volunteer of the year or community servant, for whatever. That's the kind of stuff, people who are already doing the things, not doing it just because they have to for a pageant or because they have a title that they have to whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another one of my problems with pageants. But my main problem is that it just objectifies women and like judges them based on their appearance, and not just their appearance, but a certain standard of appearance.
Right.
And who decided this is it? Who decided what was beautiful? Who decided? Obviously, we see right there. It was a bunch of businessmen. And where was that?
In Atlantic City.
In Atlantic City.
Of all places.
Y'all. That's who's defined it for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. Like, I don't have bad memories of it. But I've certainly, as I've become wiser in my old age and a parent and all the things, and just become more comfortable in my own skin. Mm-hmm. I think about, well, no wonder, and again, I can't totally blame the Miss America organization or whatever, because it falls on me as well, but it's easy for me to see why I felt like for so long I needed to have whatever that standard of beauty was.
Right.
That I could look good in a bathing suit at any second, and all the work that takes, even when you've become a mother or you get a little older and your body is just, I want to be this size now, you know, and having trouble accepting that when you've been shown or participated in my case, where that is a standard of worth.
Right. Or if your body is just shaped differently to begin with, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, yeah, so here's another question I have for you. Would you let your girls do pageants?
I don't think I would.
You wouldn't?
They would have to give me a really compelling reason to, such as this is a way I want to propel this thing that I'm already invested in, or even the talent side. But again, I see so many other avenues that this is possible. That and also it's expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's expensive.
They pay for coaching, you pay for outfits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you buy all your own outfits. It's once you reach Miss Indiana, for example, or Miss Florida, or whatever your state is, there is some funding there to help you at the next level. But before that, you know, you're buying all the things, anything you need for your talent, the travel, the hotel if you're out of town, your parents pay for tickets. I mean, it's very expensive. So you have to it's a gamble in a way. Because sure, maybe you'll win $60,000 or some money along the way, but are you willing to put however much up front to get to that point? Or should you maybe just like get a job and, you know, not that all jobs pay 60, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just go work and make the money you need for whatever it is. That sounded incredibly flippant. And I don't mean that everyone can just go out and get like a great job. I don't mean that, but I just mean if you have the mobility and the ability to do those things, you could probably also, you know, work or do something else or apply for scholarships or grants for your organization or whatever it is. So I will say, I can't tell how much of this is real and how much of it is just for show. But at the beginning of January 2023, so about a year before we're recording this, major changes were made to the competition format following the, and this is in quotation marks, advent of new Miss America ownership. And they hired this woman, Robin Ross Fleming. She's the new CEO. She's kind of well known. I looked it up. She was never a pageant winner herself, maybe a participant, but she's an entrepreneur, a dress designer, television producer. She directed state level Miss USA pageants. Again, that's a different organization, but she has that background. So they've changed a few things. One of the things they changed is it used to be that It used to be that a contestant, they changed it to say a candidate at some point. Like you're a candidate for this scholarship or this position, almost like it's a job. So she was like, that's dumb. They can be called a contestant. So I guess that was a big decision she made. That's supposedly helpful. I don't know. They did eliminate the swimsuit competition in 2018. That was before her time. Great. However, they kind of didn't. So it used to be you could pick your suit, whatever. Well, now it's physical fitness while modeling activewear. So y'all, I watched this year's. And they did all wear the same thing. And it was cute. I will say that. Like I would be like, oh, I wouldn't wear that. Not on national TV. Well, that's another thing. It wasn't on national TV, but we'll get to that. But they were these sort of almost like the Nike Pro length shorts, just bedazzled. Red, white, blue sequins. And then a crop top that was pretty thick strap, but almost like a sports bra, also bedazzled. And they all wore that. And white tennis shoes.
That sounds like they used to have these aerobics competitions in the 80s.
Oh my God.
Where, just so a little background, y'all know I am a fitness professional by trade. We'll talk about that in future episodes.
Yes.
But yes, there are, if you go online and Google 80s aerobics competition, you will fall to the ground laughing.
It probably looked a little bit like this.
That's what I'm thinking. You're saying shorts and these crop tops that are bedazzled. That's what I'm thinking because they wore like spandex, like whatever. But like that's a bathing suit. I'm sorry.
Right. It's
like,
not
that's what
different.
I wear onto the beach. Not bedazzled. Although
you could make it happen.
stay tuned.
Yeah, you could. So, well, and also just the core of that. So we're changing the outfit, but it's not the outfit that's really the problem.
No, it's not the outfit or the title. Like, you changed it from bathing suit to physical fitness while modeling activewear. Did they demonstrate their physical fitness?
No, other than walking.
Okay, see?
And they looked cute, but they weren't
cute is
they
not
weren't
physically fit.
No, they weren't doing push-ups or jumping jacks or
even
dancing
push-ups
or
even jumping jacks. Like even that's not anyway.
It's not I know what you mean. It's not a determiner of fitness. And that was kind of my thought. Like how do you even define fitness from one thing to the next? So, in my opinion, that's just got to go.
Well, basically, they're instead of actually fixing the problem, they're just changing the wording.
Right.
We've seen businesses and corporations do that a whole lot in recent years.
And you're also defining what fitness is by a certain standard, which no one should or can do.
Right.
It looks different for every person.
Correct. And again, we are presented with this image that, oh, that's what physically fit is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Huge problem there.
Absolutely. And you get a score on it. So, so another thing they changed is if they don't have a talent, there's a speech competition component called Her Story, which I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's what the winner did this year because I was trying to figure out what the heck she was doing. It was really engaging and good, but I bet that's what she was doing. Okay, well, that makes sense. So they announced those in January 2023, and it probably was in anticipation of something that they knew was on the horizon for later in 2023, July 10th. A&E premiered a 4-part documentary series. It's called The Secrets of Miss America. Interviewed past winners, contestants, staff members, and talked about some of the historical issues with the organization, body shaming, racism, psychological warfare against contestants and winners.
Not surprising.
Not surprising. I have not watched it. What's crazy is I didn't even know that existed, and I was just rereading my notes today, and I looked up something else, and it popped up. And I was like,
you didn't watch it?
I haven't watched it. I'm going to. I'm going to. It's probably better that I didn't before this just because it probably would have really, I'm guessing it'll sour all my other thoughts that I even have, but who knows? Maybe that'll be a part 2. Maybe it'll be like, here's what happened in it. We could both watch it and say how we feel. So as I mentioned, I watched this year's. It was at the Dr. Phillips Center in Orlando, which is actually nearby. I looked into getting a ticket. It was crazy expensive. It was not a convenient evening for me to go, all of the things. So I thought, well, that's okay. I'll just plot out the time to watch it on TV. Well, it is no longer on national TV. No networks play it anymore. So I Googled, how do I watch the Miss America pageant? This was the afternoon of when it was going to be on. And I did find it was a designated website. I had to sign up. It was the Miss America website, I think. It was free. It was almost like I was signing up for a live stream because it stayed blank until the show started and then it turned on.
Okay.
And it was fine. It was an okay way to watch it, actually, but no commercials or anything. So the young woman who won. So of course it starts, you see the I think they call it the pageant of the states or something. All the women do the opening number. They all had similar outfits on. They looked amazing. And they do a little montage. Hi, I'm Miss Florida and blah, 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 blah. And then they go to somebody else. And you could totally tell that they were at Universal City Walk.
Oh, funny.
It was funny, which is fine. That's a fine location. But each one you could kind of see different, like the donut shop behind them and stuff. It was so funny. The big, world globe universal thing. Yeah, it was cute. So I watched all that. But then almost immediately they cut it down to 10. They actually cut it down to 11. They did the 10 that had the highest scores and then one that was an audience pick or an audience favorite from the week, which I'm like, who's voting? This literally just started. The only thing I can think is maybe fan bases from their states could vote for them, but it was weird. Okay. And they don't tell you who the fan favorite is. I think they said it would be online later and I didn't look, but so it's just like,
here's during the night?
Not on that part. They immediately cut it down to 11. Then from there, they have a totally new scoreboard. And they so anything they've done in the week is gone.
Oh.
And so let me first tell you who won, just because she was great.
I already know this.
You know this.
Yeah, my husband came home.
Tell me what you know.
I'll let you go and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really liked her, by the way, when I was watching. Okay. I thought she was very poised. Her name's Madison March. She was Miss Colorado, and she's the first active duty military Miss America. She's in the Air Force. So what I was saying to circle back on her platform, pancreatic cancer awareness. Her mom died when she was 41 and Madison was only 16, and she was diagnosed too late. She was told it was this or that or the other thing. By the time they found out what it was stage 4 or 5.
Oh.
So you see that passion that she talks about. Madison's been working in pancreatic cancer awareness since then.
Oh.
And so she was talking about it and how she's just like grounded in her purpose. Mm-hmm. And there was this moment, I feel like I'm going to cry. Not because Miss America's so beautiful, but because I feel for this young lady. When she was crowned, she just looked shocked and frozen. And then she looked up and it looked like she mouthed, "I love you," or "I love you, Mom."
Aww.
Like as they're giving her the flowers and the crown. And I just thought, how sad. Like sad that her mom's not here. Aww. But also she got herself to this point because of her. I really did feel like this is a girl who's going to use this for good. Mm-hmm. Who's already out there doing good things, who would be doing this whether she won or not. Mm-hmm. And now she's got a platform. You know, so what did your husband say?
Well, he came home from work and we were actually, this a couple days ago, we were talking about, because this was last week okay. And we were talking about something. I was like, oh yeah, Katie and I we got to film our next couple podcast episodes and it's going to be pageants. And he's like, oh, but you know what? The lady who just won is in the Air Force.
Oh my God.
Because FYI, my husband just retired from active duty Air Force life a couple years ago. And he's like, yeah, that's like a big deal. Like it's being made like a big deal of blah, blah, blah. And I was like, good. And I'm like, good. But then I'm like, ew, are they like using her now to like recruit people? And like,
right.
Which happens. There's not a lot of women in the Air Force. There's more now. My husband was a pilot and there were not many. There's still not many. But, I mean, that's great. Good for her. I'm glad to hear that somebody that was already an activist, already serving her community, won. That makes me happy.
Yeah. And she does seem like a really wonderful young woman. So hopefully this will help her get where she wants to be with all of that. She, but I kind of had the same thought, like, okay, so the Air Force is basically going to be like, you can, this is oversimplifying, but you can be really, really pretty and blonde and small and join.
And white.
And white. That too.
Well, here's the thing. I was sitting there talking to my husband and what we were talking about was the logistics of it all. I was like, so how does that work? Like, what is her job in the Air Force to where you can just go off and do pageants? Because I'll tell you right now, my husband did not have freedom to go anywhere he wanted to whenever he wanted. Just for us to go on vacations, it took paperwork, clearance, and that hardly ever happened anyway because he was busy all the time and gone. So we're like, what and how is this even...
I would
Did she say what she did?
imagine she's a pilot, I believe.
Really?
I think so.
Maybe
She posed next to like her fighter jet, I think, and she was in a little like fatigues, like a pilot's outfit that I saw. The only thing I can think is she probably got an exception. There's no other way.
There's got to be, but that's so crazy.
Because it benefits the Air Force.
Right. That's what I was telling Troy. I was like, so maybe she got that clearance because they knew it was going to help that. I don't know. But I was like, that's also annoying from a different standpoint. She's not annoying, but it is annoying from another standpoint of regular, I'm not regular is whatever, but people who were in the military and did not have any special treatment for whatever reason. We didn't even see family a lot of times because we couldn't leave and et cetera, et cetera. But meanwhile, they're like, sure, go be in a pageant.
Right.
Do you know, like...
Yeah. And they must have seen, I'm sure, the mutual benefit in it. My guess is she probably, once she won Miss Colorado, she was probably able to take a leave of absence or whatever to prepare. I don't know that.
I know.
But obviously she's not actively in the Air Force right now and traveling the country as Miss America. So she's not doing that right now, even if she's an active officer.
So that's another question.
Not officer, but military
to stay
member.
Active and flying, you have to be flying or you lose your flying status. See,
that'd be interesting to look into. That might be a follow-up on a future episode.
Anyway, but good for her. Congrats.
I really liked her. I really felt like she was genuine and really is going to do something good with it. We already talked about fitness. I had that in here just telling you what they wore. So here we go. This is the hill I am going to die on. Here it comes.
It better not be fitness.
It's not. Evening gown.
Oh.
Love it.
Okay.
Want it to stay forever. Few reasons why. You do have to have, I don't know if it's poise, elegance. I like that everyone can wear something different. Most of the time, again, we're talking about a very small window of diversity in body types.
Yeah.
There is some, but that you could wear what you want. I don't know. I just love the evening gown. I'm not saying I love being judged on the evening gown. Like that should be a metric. As a person watching, I enjoy it.
I mean, I can kind of understand that because I love me a red carpet moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love me a sparkle dress.
Yeah. And maybe if it was just part of the, what's the word? The spectacle.
Yeah.
And not a component where you're judged.
Yeah.
Then it would be perfect.
I hear that.
Like just wear something pretty and feel great about yourself in it and walk down this thing and everyone can be like, oh, I love that dress. And then we can all move on.
Yes.
You know? I think it's
Why
fine.
do we have to be judged? Okay.
Exactly. So then there's a talent portion, always fun to watch. I was thinking as I watched it this year, it's so bizarre because normally when you're watching something, even The Voice, for example, everyone's singing.
Uh-huh.
I guess America's Got Talent, there's different talents coming in, but it's hard to judge people against each other because everyone's kind of doing something different.
Right.
Yeah. So there was this amazing opera singer. I think she made the top 5. She was great. But then there was this woman, and again, this might be this her story speech thing that I talked about earlier. She was acting out a monologue that she wrote where she talked about herself in it.
Oh, okay. The little snippet you sent me, I saw her in the flight suit.
That's her.
And the things. And you're going to die when I tell you what I thought it was for a second.
What?
Now, granted, I only saw a few seconds of it.
I sent her a video through text and I was like, look what I'm watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I guess I should explain that. I thought she was acting out a scene from Top Gun.
Maybe she was. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
I don't think she was.
I don't think she was.
She was, but I was like, no, she did not do a Top Gun monologue.
Oh my God.
I totally thought that's what it was. I didn't know she was really a pilot either.
Yeah. So we'll have to find the clip of it.
I mean,
we'll have to watch it together.
When I watched it, I didn't know.
Right. So it would be hard to be like, what exactly am I watching? So, but overall, I really like the talent. You had your regular crop. There was a tap dancer, a samba dancer, a contemporary dancer, an opera singer, a few people that sang some pop songs. the monologue. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really off the wall. I don't think so. Not in those top 10, 11, top 11.
It's like watching a variety show, right?
Yeah.
But that is tricky because how do you judge that? Because you can't judge them against each other because they're each its own thing.
Totally. I don't know. But I found it entertaining. And then this was interesting. I guess to get it from 11 to 5, because the 5 are the ones that get the interview questions at the end. They did something new and they made a big deal about how it was new. And all 11 contestants came and sat in these chairs. And under the chairs was a number. And they would pull out the number and randomly some topic. I guess when they came out, they could pick whatever chair they wanted or something. So that's what made it random. And whatever the number was, a topic would pop on the screen. Not a question, a topic. And they would have 30 seconds to talk about it.
Oh, my God.
It's not the worst idea.
It's like improv.
Because it's like, okay, let's see if they're quick on their feet. But these topics, girl.
No. Oh, no. I didn't even look ahead in your notes because I just want to know. I was just like,
so imagine you're just sitting there, not on national TV, but it's live. And there'll be social media clips of this. And you reach under your chair and you pull out a number. And you have to, for 30 seconds on the fly, talk about one of these 10 topics. I guess there must have been 11 because there were 11 women at this point. Terrorism.
Oh, my God. Immigration.
Healthcare. Families. Politics. Nutrition, technology, women. Like, that's not even a topic.
I know.
What do you mean women? Like what about them? Like, is there a topic that's just men? I'm so confused. Money. Climate change. You have to feel bad for the woman that draws that one.
Oh.
And drugs.
Shut up. That was a word?
Someone pulled drugs. And I'm trying to think, the woman who grabbed it was like, I'm going to spin this into something else. I want to talk. Actually, it might have been the woman who won. She started talking about access to the drugs that people need and how we don't have enough access
Smart thinking.
And research. So she didn't really talk about it the way they probably wanted her to. But I was like, that was smart.
That was real smart. That's not how to spin words. I don't know how to do that. I'd be
And
dead
this
in the
young woman
water.
from New York got immigration. And she was like, my dad's an immigrant and we need to have reform because anyone who wants to come here should. And I said to myself, she's out. She's going to be the first one to go. She did not make the top 5. I mean, I agreed with what she was saying, but I was like, they introduced the judges at the beginning and they're like these, like, everybody's, I think, I could be wrong. Everyone was like white, these women entrepreneurs. I'm just guessing it was more of a conservative bunch. I could be totally wrong.
Probably.
But I remember I was like, oh, she's just being too honest right now. Everybody else was sort of skirting around it.
I like that. You address that and be honest.
Yeah, she was great. I liked her a lot. She did something else too that I can't remember what it was. Might have been her talent. She did something and I was like, oh, she's gone. And the person who talked about climate change basically didn't address it.
How do you talk about climate change and not address it?
It was 30 seconds of just nothingness. It was like, well, I think, we can all do our part just to make the environment better. It's not really about climate change. It's about keeping the earth nice for us. It was,
boy.
But you feel for them.
I know.
Because you're like, what the heck kind of topics are these?
I can sit here and judge all I want, but
Right.
if you sat me down and gave me a word and said, talk about drugs for 30 seconds, I'd be like,
You're like, I haven't done any. They're bad. I think they're a felony. Just anything you could think of in the moment. I felt for them. But I was not laughing at them at all. I was laughing at I was like, what the heck are these topics?
That is really hard. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever done improv? You've done improv.
Yeah, I have.
I love doing improv, but it is not easy, right? Mm-mm. And that is basically what they're doing.
Yeah, really.
Like when you do debate, like you're
in
debate clubs and all that. You have to think on your feet, and it takes practice. So I'm sure they've probably been...
Yeah, they were probably fine. And no one said anything too outlandish. A few of them just sort of skirted the topic. But other than that, they were pretty straightforward. And you could see when it clicked, like they start talking and then they're like, oh yes, here's my point. And then the passion kind of flows out. It was kind of interesting. But so those were kind of just my thoughts on watching it. And then just randomly, as I was researching this, I found a couple little facts that I thought were interesting. So there's always been this qualifying criteria, which we've touched on a little bit today. But there used to be a rule number 7, which was in place until 1940. So that's maybe 20 years of the pageant. It stated contestants must be of good health and of the white race. That's what it said. Until 1940.
1940?
Yes.
Ew.
And it was only started in 1920. So you can't even say, oh, this is a rule from 1820. This is a rule from 20 years ago.
So we have capitalism, patriarchy, misogyny, and racism.
Yes.
At the root of Miss America. So I am valid in hating it.
You are valid. And not only was it a rule, they had to trace their ancestry back through as many generations. So they had to basically prove it. You couldn't just look white. Isn't that wild? Her face right now, you guys.
This is America, so I am not surprised in the least. I'm just grossed out.
It's horrible. It's awful.
I'm not surprised because that is a history of our country.
Well, you are going to really love this person then that I found.
I hope so.
The morning, so this rule was still in place when this woman won, because this was 1937. Mm-hmm. So the morning after winning the title of Miss America in 1937, Betty Cooper decided, you know what? I don't want to commit to the role. She ran off with a man instead, by motorboat, some say. And then she decided she'd return to school instead of fulfilling her Miss America duties. And then that particular year, no other contestant was awarded the title.
Go, Miss Cooper.
You know, she probably lived her best life.
She stuck up her middle finger.
Yeah, she was probably like, I just want to win this and then go away on a motorboat and be like, F all of you. Bye.
I want to know why she wanted to not commit. That's what I want to know. Why did she decide to leave?
That's interesting. It also could be she just was like, oh, I didn't know that I would win and now I have to give you a year of my life. No thanks. Could be as simple as that, but probably not.
Probably not.
There's probably a lot more to it. So some of the questions I had when I was researching, we've touched on, can Miss America be married? No. She can be divorced. They need to swear they're unmarried, not pregnant, not the adoptive or biological parent of a child. So we've touched on that.
Whatever.
I don't know. The only thing I can think is maybe the commitment level. Obviously it's harder to do if you're A, married, B, a parent, because you shouldn't probably be going all over the country without your child, at least. Your spouse could come with you. I don't know. I think it's a weird rule. So I also wondered, can Miss America be gay? LGBTQ+. In short, yes. There are no rules that state otherwise. In fact, Miss America 2005, Deidre Downs, is now openly a lesbian. Although when she was crowned, she may have been, but she was not completely out about it. She, in fact, went on to marry a man when she wasn't Miss America anymore because she couldn't be married. But then they divorced and she married a woman. Okay. And she's a fertility doctor and published and out there and still referenced as a Miss America 2005, no issues whatsoever. Erin O'Flaherty represented Miss Missouri in Miss America 2017 pageant, and she was the first and so far only openly lesbian contestant to compete in Miss America at the state level.
So they ask you
I'm sorry, not at the state level, at the national level. I don't know if they ask you, but that's why it says openly. I don't think they ask. I guess what I'm saying is there's no rule that says you can't be. But it's also not very common, so I don't know if it's sort of an unwritten thing or if it really doesn't matter. There just haven't been.
I'm also So can you be trans? Can you be transgender?
That's my next question. Can Miss America be transgender? Sort of. They used to have in the rules. So listen, did you read ahead?
I'm pretty sure that that's not an answer.
So
it's either yes or no.
So they used to allow anyone who identified as female to compete.
Okay.
So that's great. However, in the new Miss America 2025 contract, so going into next year, competitors now have to have either been born a female or a female who has fully completed reassignment surgery from male to female with accompanying medical certification.
Okay.
So that's what I meant by sort of. If you have all that, then yes.
That leaves out a whole bunch of people.
And how many...
It's like they're going backwards because it said before that, it said anyone who identified as female.
No paperwork needed, no documentation. And also, I mean, I don't know the stats on this, but I feel like the younger you are, the less likely it is that you've done, the reassignment surgery that, because it's hard money-wise and family-wise.
Stupid states you live in, too.
Exactly.
If you're even allowed to.
So at that age, I wouldn't imagine there's a high percentage of people who have done that yet.
But also, like, this opens up more questions that I was thinking. What about if you're non-binary or if you're male?
Right. Well, I think if you're male, it's a no.
But why? Like,
but why? Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I'm opening Pandora's box here because I feel like pageants are just such an antiquated thing in so many levels, and they try so hard to evolve and stay modern and open and correct, and but you can't. If you're founded on racist ideals, if you're founded on patriarchal misogyny, I know everyone, I've said that like 10 times this episode, but if those are the things you're founded on, you can keep changing all you want, but what you really need to do is burn it all down and build something new.
I would agree with that. And I think any sort of gender-based competition, and again, Pandora's box,
I know,
because then you get into athletics and you've got that whole debate, like, can transgender women compete against women who were assigned that at birth? And then, again, not all things we're going to get into today, but I do see what you're saying. And that's my question, the relevance of it. Yeah. The relevance of it. And so to put it in perspective, 2 trans contestants participated in Miss Universe 2023. Okay. Someone from Portugal and someone from the Netherlands. So whether they had to turn in paperwork or whatever, I have no idea. But those were, the contestants who had won at the country level and were at Miss Universe. So that's something. So there's way more to delve into, including that 4-part miniseries, which I will link in the show notes, because if you're interested in it, I want you to be able to find it easily, and I will probably give it a watch. So even if we just touch on it at the top of another episode or have a wrap-up episode, I'll let you know what I learned. I'm going to come back and be like, Dani's right.
I know.
We're deleting the other episode. Everything sucks.
That's like, I'm not even going to watch it because I already feel so negatively. That it'll just make me even more irritated. I don't know. Maybe if you watch it, I'll watch it, and we can.
Or I can watch it and let you know.
You're like, Dani, why don't I just watch it?
I'll screen it for you, like I do with my kids. Yeah, exactly.
Tell you.
Well, I hope you listeners learned something or got even more angry than you were, or felt nostalgic a little bit by what I was saying. And it's always a discussion on this show because
Katie, I am sorry, I'm not trying to throw shade on your pageant past.
I am
so glad it was a positive thing for you.
Yeah, it was a positive thing. So with that, I want to thank you for listening to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast. If you liked what you heard, which I hope you did, share us with your friends of all generations and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also find us on patreon.com. Become a monthly supporter for just $8 a month. You'll have access to some perks that only our patrons have. All of that information is also linked in our show notes. So straighten those crowns, my queens. We'll see you next time. Bye.